Get it right.
Okay.
Hello and welcome to, do you prefer Melissa, Misha, Dr.?
You know, I go by all things. My published name is always Melissa. That's the name on my driver's license. But when I started playing soccer, there were 4 Melissas on my team, and we all had to choose nicknames. So I chose Misha, thinking it was an African name. I was listening to a lot of Miriam Makeba and South African music, only to discover that it's Russian and a boy's name and often a cat's name.
Oh,
But that's okay.
That's great.
So most people know me as Misha informally, so that would be great.
Okay, all right. So we're welcoming Misha Cahnmann-Taylor today, and she is a professor at the University of Georgia, as well as a published poet who leads workshops all over the country. And so we are very honored to have you with us to help with our poetry writing. So I'm going to turn it over to Misha.
Well, thank you so much, Danielle, and to Jessica for organizing this conference. And, you know, when I can get to those mountains, I'm there. So let me know when the next opportunity is to be with you all live in person. And I offer you my hospitality in Athens, Georgia. If you haven't been, it's a wonderful college town to spend some time in. And I'm just delighted. It always makes me so happy to teach poetry, because I think of it as teaching myself and others wide awakeness, you know, how to just be more present with what is happening in my life cycle, and the cycles of nature around me, and the cycles of political events, what have you, the cycles of my dog cycles of eating breakfast, lunch, and dinner. So I have been playing around with this idea of repetition, because I find that that's an important and useful strategy for me as a writer. And I think it will be to most writers. In fact, most of our famous formal poems, when you look at sonnets, you have repetition of sound and rhyme and meter. And when you look at other forms like the French villanelle, the most famous French villanelle, in my mind, my beloved poem, well, there's many of them, but I love Elizabeth Bishop's poem, One Art. And that's a 3-line stanza poem where the first and the third line repeat over and over. The pantoum is a famous Malaysian form where the second and the fourth line repeat as the first and the third line. So repetition comes back in formal poems, and of course in free verse. Often it's the incantatory quality of repetition that can get us into poetic mind. So I titled this talk, Repeat After Me, Poetic Repetition for Creative Surprise. Because in essence, I think we're always just seeking to be surprised by both what we don't yet know, and also be surprised by what we already know, but maybe didn't know that we did. So I'm going to date myself and start with a famous bit of repetition that's very funny. Does anybody already recognize this? I guess I'd like to hear a sound. I don't know if anyone could unmute. Do you know what this is from just by looking at this clip?
Yes.
Merle
Yes.
says no.
Yes, we say yes in the class. In the classroom, we're all yes.
Okay. So what is it?
Ferris Bueller's Day Off.
Someone of my generation or have watched this wonderful film. No, well, then you already know how
it's a very traditional age student.
Nice. Well, we can have a chuckle, a repeated chuckle. And for those of you for whom it's new, we can, I think, recommend this film, although now in this new context, maybe there's some horrible things. And I find that when I watch things I loved as a teenager or child, that suddenly they've changed and I don't feel so similarly, but this little bit is quite fun. So I'll just play it for you.
Bueller, 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 here, Bueller, 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 here, Bueller, 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 here, Bueller, Bueller,
He's sick. My best friend's sister's boyfriend's brother's girlfriend heard from this guy who knows this kid is going with the girl who saw Ferris pass out at 31 Flavors last night. I guess it's pretty serious.
thank you, Simone.
No problem whatsoever.
Bueller, Bueller,
I can't help but love the, so this is the classic repetition. I'm in teacher education, for those of you who don't know. So I'm a poet through the back door. I've always wanted to live a creative life, and I've always been passionate about K-12 education. I started my career as a 3rd and 4th grade teacher in Los Angeles, where I started also to take my poetry writing seriously, and have lived that kind of split career ever since. And I integrate arts-based approaches to teacher education and educational practice, as well as trying to practice it myself. So I always talk about repetition in the familiar way that most of us remember with it in school, which is as something quite boring. When a teacher's, especially for someone in my field of language education, learning foreign languages, the repetition of learning how to say certain vocabulary lists in Spanish or greetings in French, what have you. Repetition seems to be necessary and a necessary evil. But poets know that repetition doesn't have to be boring. In fact, it can be quite enhancing the creative mind. So there's where we'll go to next. So of course, many of you already know this. I'm going to talk about repetition to liberate the unconscious intelligence. How do we get to that place in the mind where we're learning new things that maybe we already knew or had yet to come to know? This is called in poetry, the technique is often referred to as anaphora, sometimes litany. And it's a useful poetic tool in many oral and literate world cultures, a path to get into an incantatory liminal state. It's often used in political speeches, in prose and poetry. Anaphora is the repetition of a word or words at the beginning of successive phrases, clauses, or lines to create a sonic incantatory effect. So one might say that this clip I showed you with the repetition of the absent student's name, Bueller, Ferris Bueller, would put people to sleep. That's not the kind of incantation that I'm talking about, one that puts you to sleep, but rather wakes you up to new meaning. Some of the techniques that are helpful to keep in mind, which I'm sure many of you are already familiar with, these aspects of poetry. So often we think of repetition of sound. That's both with exact rhyme and slant rhyme. So, you'll hear that, like I said, in the sonnet form, when you have the Shakespearean sonnet, A, B, B, A, you have line A repeating exactly with the 4th line A, and the 2nd and 3rd lines having the B rhyme. But as many of you know from reading Emily Dickinson onward, some of the most exciting rhyme is in slant form, to hear the sound, but to hear it somewhat slant or different. So to hear the word book with the near rhyme bike, to have the consonants in there. So that would be having the same consonant sounds, like church matches which scratch and itch. So you hear the repetition of the ch, 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 as opposed to the more familiar alliteration, which is that word initial sound sequence familiar in many tongue twisters, like Peter Piper picked a peck of pickled peppers. And but we don't always think of rhyme as about just word initial sounds or the consonant sounds. But of course, we want it all when there's a direct rhyme, but sometimes it's enough to just have consonants or assonants, which is having the same vowel sounds, as in this fun tongue twister, red leather, yellow leather. So I want to invite the class, just for kicks, Danielle, you'll have to lead it for me. If you wouldn't mind practicing saying 10 times fast, red leather, yellow leather, and see how fun it is to say those words in your mouth. And Meryl, Carrie, and Tina, who I see on Zoom, if you want to unmute and try it with me, you may, or you can stay muted and just do it to your screen, but I just would like you to feel these words in your mouth, and I will model it 10 times. Red leather, yellow leather, 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 red leather, yellow leather. Who's got it?
No. Did you guys
Anyone
get
want a
it?
demo?
The whole class is shaking our head no.
Seriously? That's part of your homework, is go home and try to practice it. It's a wonderful, I also have a background in theater, and that is a classic theater warm-up to rehearse clarity in pronunciation. And a lot of pleasure is derived from sonic repetitions of sounds in their exact and slant forms. So I want you to keep these ideas in mind as we play a little game together. So I would like to do some guided practice. This is a really wonderful way to get to know you and to get to know each other. I'm going to share a link here to a shared document. Now, if you're in the class, you may or may not have, let me just stop sharing for just a moment and put in the chat this link so that you can, if you're on a computer, you can join me here. That link is in the document. And now I'm going to reshare that screen and talk through the instruction. I do this because I'm new to understanding that not everyone is as they appear. So I like to learn what gender pronouns people like to have. And I also love to talk about myself and others in the third person, because a lot of times many poems are written in the I, which is often attributed to the confessional movement, which means it's about the poet. Sometimes people mistakenly believe the I in a poem is the poet, but most great writers are also always aware that the I is a fiction. And it's very helpful to begin to start to write about yourself in the third person so that it liberates the I to be whoever he, she, or they want to be. So I would like you on this Google Doc or in your paper that you have there, Danielle, you'll let me know if this is acceptable or which you prefer. They can also, you also, Danielle, could call out after folks have some time to brainstorm. I would like you to put your first name, your preferred pronoun, and then a description of yourself that uses some aspect of alliteration, assonance, or consonance. So mine is Misha, she micromanages mosquitoes. I wish. Misha, she is a whiz of missing quizzes. Occasional. It doesn't have to be true. Actually, I never miss a quiz if I don't have to. Misha, she marvels at magicians. Misha, she wishes for pizza. Misha, she's multitasking, motherhood, move, move, move. Misha, she washes galoshes. So if we visit this form together, if it's possible, what I would like is for you to place your name down below. So if I was Meryl, I would put my name. I would put her whatever gender pronoun she or he or they uses, and then start filling something out. I'd like to take a few minutes to do this. And if you get bored or you're distracted or you have come up with the most perfect one and you don't want to write more, I give you permission to write on other people's. Does that make sense?
Misha, it's asking, it's saying you have to give us access on the Google Doc.
Oh, weird. Okay.
Yeah,
okay.
It says request sent. You'll get an email letting you know if the file is shared.
Oh, okay. Let me do this. Editor, done. Now what happens if I do this? I'm going to put it back in the chat.
That worked.
Oh, so you don't need it again? Okay, I'll put it again anyway, just in case.
Okay. Yeah, that worked for us in the classroom. So
oh, good. And Meryl and whoever's here in the Zoom room with me, Tina, Carrie, if you guys want to let me know.
If those of you in the classroom, if you want to write it, and then we can just put it in here. So do you want to come type them in? Okay. All right, I'll let you come do that.
That would be great. Just take, I would say it's 1:47. Maybe we'll take 3 minutes to
3
write as
minutes.
quickly as you can.
Okay.
And again, feel free to add into somebody else's. So you'll let me know, Tina and Carrie, if you're here. I'll see you joining Meryl and I on this document, and others will soon join us as well.
Do you guys want to come type some in? Okay. I love when Google tells us we're anonymous animals, like anonymous coyote is topping.
Thank you.
I can't spell my own name. That's helpful. I am not a poet, so this is pushing my reaches here.
And remember to try to move from alliteration to consider what would it be like if you just had the consonants of your name echo, or the vowel sounds, the assonants of your name. So try to see what it would open up ideas.
LL.
And once you have 5 or 6, if you want to dance around into other people's names and give them a little idea, and or those in the classroom, if you want to walk up and type one of your favorites, that would be
Right.
great.
Who wants to come add? Because I've put a whole bunch, so go for it. Okay, Katie, come on. Go ahead, Katie. Look how bad mine are. Come on.
Then I get to see you. Hello.
Hello.
Oh, this is fabulous. I hope someone else follows you. Give us a couple.
Did you get to do it on your phone?
Nice. Shirley, Meryl. I like that sonic. I like Shirley and Meryl. That's very nice. Carrie, I want to see an E sound in there. An airy.
I only have 2, so.
That's fine. Two is
Oh, I
more
can't
than none, so that's good. It's 200% better than none.
You got me there.
I got you. All right.
Oh, that's not my phone. I almost stole your phone. I'm so sorry.
That's all right. You give it back. Do you want to come out? I think I'm good. No, you should just add one. Add your favorite one. So that we all
Totally.
are
Everyone, I must see. Where did Katie's go? Katie, there she goes. Oh, very nice. Ooh, I like it. Got that long A sound. What do we have now? We have gray.
I'm just kidding.
Oh, yes. Awesome. And remember, you can dance around.
a really fun thing.
I like how interactive it is. Yeah.
Lisa said she would come back and do a workshop for us, so I'm probably gonna like it up at some point. I love gray. That's so pretty.
Oh.
And it's close. Also read to like everything in that. See,
Not sure if this is accurate, but
Meryl was my husband's high school English teacher. I'm sharing this. I'm sure she loves me for that. I don't know if they can hear me. Misha, can y'all hear me?
Yes.
Oh, okay, good.
Triple dimpled.
I'm
Oh, real. She used the real in it. Okay, I like that. Thank you.
I've got April, Gray, Katie, Carrie. Is there anyone else in the house, in the room?
We have all of the classroom participants in there. We're all in.
Woo! Fantastic. Okay. So I could do this all day, but I would like you to go to look at your list that you have on the screen and those that you have shared or not shared, and pick a favorite. And I would just like to go around, Danielle, if you would start with the people in the room. And if they don't mind getting out of their seats, I wanted to number. Meryl, you'll be number 1. Carrie, you'll be number 2. And if Tina's in the house, she'd be number 3, but I don't see her here yet. So Meryl and Carrie, you'll go after the classroom presence. Danielle, would you invite people to share their favorite as well as yourself? Pick your favorite.
Is this our favorite of ours or
Yeah,
of like?
yeah.
Oh, okay.
We just want to get to know each person, and you just select, please, one you want us to hear in your mouth, and we will take it in.
I
So
kind of like the consonant sound with the repeating L's. So Danielle, she is swell and drilling for a yell from the bellow of the well. And that well's like the slant almost. But I do like that repeated consonant sound of the double L's.
Oh, I love it. Very nice. Thank you, Danielle. Oh, I guess we should just go in order. Meryl, do you want to unmute and choose to read one? Do you mind? Uh-oh, you're still muted. Do you need tech support to unmute you, Meryl, or do you know how to do that?
Let me see if I can do it.
Okay.
Let's see.
Meryl's having a lovely conversation, but we hear nothing.
Let me, hold on. Oh, I don't know how. It's not showing me on the participants list to do that. It may be Clifton. Clifton, can you hear us?
I don't know if Meryl knows what I do to unmute myself. Let me stop sharing so that just for a moment.
Yeah,
I'm so sorry.
Can you unmute Meryl? Oh, I found it now. Haha. Let's see.
All right. All
There
right.
we
Can
go.
you hear me now? I couldn't see my unmute button on my computer because of the screen share thing.
That's what I thought.
Okay.
All right.
So you want me to read one of my lines?
Yes, please.
All right. Well, I liked my alliteration in the line. Meryl, she might make a metaphor, because metaphors are a big thing with me. I've got a bumper sticker on my car that says "Metaphors be with you," and I've had it for over 20 years, and I'm well known for my metaphor sticker. So I like that one.
Fantastic. Meryl, she might make a metaphor, maybe more than one today, I hope. Thank you. That was great. Next up would be Carrie. Carrie in the house, are you able to unmute, Carrie? I guess you could type us a note if you can't.
Hi.
Hi.
I liked the last one because of the play on words with the repeated words too. Carrie, she's quite quiet yet conversational when coaxed.
I just love it. We got that alliteration, and Carrie quiet. I feel like there's something else there. She, Carrie, and she, quiet, quite. That's sort of like an assonance in there. Conversational when coaxed. Wonderful. Thank you so much.
Thanks. Hey, Katie, you're up. Can you guys hear Katie, or does she need
It's
to come?
soft, but we can hear. It's soft, but
I'll use my theater voice. I like my first one. Katie, she keeps kindness close.
oh, yummy. Sweet and perfectly alliterative. I love it. I love it. Next up would be Gray.
I can't see the second one, but I liked my first one. Gray, they ran race to great groups.
And what does Bruce mean? I don't know it.
So what?
Bruce, what does Bruce mean?
I think I meant to write groups.
Oh.
Not groups.
Oh. So
Whatever works, man.
we like inventing new words, so.
Oh, wonderful. Thank you. Thank you. And April, last but not least.
April, she is the apple of my eye, appeasing to the core.
Mm.
Is it? Oh, it's good. Okay.
Shoot. Ah.
It's so sweet to tell the self that the self is the apple of one's own eye. It's just so lovely. Keep that. Well, I think they are just fabulous. Now I'm going to go back to sharing. So keep this in mind. This is a really fun game to play in diverse age groups when waiting for an airplane. You know, it's just fun to keep in mind wordplay games, and the repetition of sounds is just provides such sonic joy. So feel free to keep playing with me. Now I'm going to ask if any of you can think of famous uses of repetition in poetry, religious texts, or political rhetoric. Maybe those of us on Zoom could put some ideas in chat, and those of you in the room can talk about a few and then share a few. So just take a minute, we'll chat in the Zoom, and let me see if I can open up my chat. I don't know if I'm sharing a screen or not. I think I am.
You are. We are seeing your screen, so you are.
Okay. So I'm going to make it nice and big. And actually, just any volunteer. So feel free to write in the chat if you prefer that way. And Danielle, if people say something, maybe you could help us see it if it's hard to hear. But can you think of famous uses of repetition? What comes to mind in poetry, religions, text, or political rhetoric? Oh, I have one new message. I wonder if something's written here.
What? Oh, the green example.
Oh, Dr. Seuss is the master of repetition and joyful repetition. Fantastic. He's always on my mind as well. One fish, two fish, red fish, blue fish. I mean, I think he's the reason why I have such a love of literature, and it makes me so sad that now there's controversy. But it makes sense. It makes sense too. What other repetition do you recall? No Sunday school goers here in the crowd, or anyone follow?
I think automatically of MLK and Free at Last, Free at Last. Yeah, I think that's
absolutely. I in fact, that's one of my examples.
You can't think of anything. There's MLK. Yeah.
Yeah, you know,
Like we teach, when you teach, you like, that's what you think. I think like it's in the teacher brain.
And we're just not too far away from celebrating Martin Luther King Day in January. And, you know, that I Have a Dream speech was so powerful. And I don't think it is not lost on many politicians, the power of repetition in political rhetoric, but it's, you know, strategic repetition. So what else do you guys have in mind?
I was going to say, in the same political vein, you see Obama's "Yes, we can," and that would be. Katie was thinking of that, so we'll give Katie that one. So. It's the thing. It's the thing. Yeah.
Absolutely, absolutely. Meryl, what you got?
Well, what I thought of is it's kind of affirming what you're saying about repetition. And when you mentioned the church stuff, there was this little boy who was going into the library to get a library card. And so the librarian said, you Father, Son, and he said the Holy Spirit, the Holy Ghost or something. He just, because that's what he had heard in his church all the time. So he just finished it for her.
Oh,
I thought that was really, that was what came to my mind when you mentioned that.
yeah. So we learn to anticipate language. That's often referred to in linguistics as collocations. You know, words come with other words. And so I'm thinking about I think it was April with apple of my eye. Yes. April, she's the apple of my eye. So if she had said the apple of my, probably most of us, if we're especially native English speakers, would have known exactly what the ending was going to be. And one of the fun, oh yes, Carrie, we're on the same wavelength. I love that poem by Maya Angelou. She wrote Still I Rise. Sorry, I got distracted by a chat. But the fun thing with poetry is to play with idioms and expected language, or sometimes one of my teachers was Thomas Lux. May he rest in peace. He was at Georgia Tech for many years until recently. And he would say, you know, to be wary of familiar word couplings in poetry. In other words, cliche, things you expect to go together and try to disrupt it. So if we know it's apple of my eye or Father, Son, and the Holy Ghost, which one might we play with to pull out and awaken ourselves to language that's expected into what is unexpected? I don't want to shut anyone else down. Does anyone have anything else to offer? Some other ideas along this religious text or political speech or poems?
I'm thinking of like the Psalms. There's a lot of repetition in the Psalms.
Absolutely. The chorus. I mean, we love, you know, from the Greek chorus to who's a famous singer now? I don't even know.
Like Hamilton, you will see certain refrains repeated. Yeah.
Absolutely. And the same kind of underlying musical score will come in and out of other songs. So we love it. We look for it, and we look for the moments when it wakens us up into something we think is going to happen, and we get to the unexpected. So Danielle and I were on the same wavelength of immediately thinking of Martin Luther King. Of course, Genesis is loaded. Much of our biblical text has repetition, and God said, let there be light, and there was light, and God saw the light, that it was good, and God divided, you know, that and God, you know, these are things that were often done also because it helped with memorization. You know, if you hear the same things over and over, that text, you don't need to be literate. JFK, yes, absolutely. I don't know if this is the one, but ask not what you can do, what your country can do for you, but what you can do for your country. It's like flipping it around, repeating the same words in a slightly different order. And it was so powerful. Of course, our famous American poet, Walt Whitman, has great uses of anaphora throughout his very famous poem, Song of Myself, and many others of his poetry. And Allen Ginsberg, a famous Beat Generation poet who addressed a place using anaphora. And this is a wonderful technique. I invite you to consider writing a poem to America, writing a poem to Ukraine or to Russia, writing a poem to the state of Georgia. Can be a wonderful way to lose control of your mind, to just address a non-human as if a human. So in this very famous poem, he talks about addresses many aspects of America. America, how can I write a holy litany in your silly mood? I will continue like Henry Ford. My strophes are as individual as his automobiles, more so they're all different sexes. America, I will sell you strophes, 2,500 a piece, 500 down on your old strophe. America, free Tom Mooney. America, save the Spanish loyalists. America, Sacco and Vanzetti must not die. America, I am the Scottsboro boy. So he's listing out people who were falsely accused of crimes. It's just a beautiful poem, and it gets he takes his rage and his obsession and his concern for the country, and he puts it into this anaphora list, which I highly recommend doing. Most recently, I just heard a contemporary poet, Danez Smith, writing to Minnesota. So I think it's a wonderful technique, and Georgia could use more poems. This one is super fun. I don't know if you can see the whole thing. I couldn't squeeze it all in one slide, but I'm in love with this poet from Massachusetts, Amy Dryansky. And this poem, you have to be a certain age to appreciate this poem, because this is when we used to have gas attendants who would fill your gas tank. We don't usually have that anymore, but the poem is called Thank You for Your Excellent Service. And she starts with very literal, thanks for filling my tank. Thanks for smiling. Thanks for hearing the exact words I said. Thanks for responding. Thanks for making a joke that was not at my expense. Thanks for making it with me. Thanks for looking at me close up, for seeing all the way through to the elemental lining of my dark gray cloud. Thanks for wanting it to rain. Thanks for praying to get soaked. Thanks for not covering up, not taking shelter. I can't read my own writing. It's for not watching from a safe, dry spot. This is where it starts to turn. Thanks for getting wet with me. Woo! Thanks for drying me off, for pulling the rubber squeegee across my windshield at just the right angle and shaking off the dross. Thanks for wiping the length of the soft blade with a chamois cloth, then convincing me to slide my hand down under the dash and release the latch so you could check my oil. Thanks for finding the spot where the slender rod props the hood without my having to show you. Thanks for writing it. I skipped 2 stanzas, so you have to get the book to see the rest. Thanks for writing it all up on a tissuey carbon for me to autograph, tearing off my copy, keeping one for yourself, and holding the pen I just held in my hand in your mouth as I drove away. Is anyone keeping up with the double entendre? This is not just about thanking the guy for filling up her tank, if you know what I mean. Is there any I can't see everyone's expression, but okay. Thank you. Gratitude, expressions of politeness conventions are wonderful ways to get you into the intoxication of where you don't yet know you might want to go with gratitude. Thank you. Apologies. I'm sorry. You know, these things are techniques. Oh, he filled up her tank. Thank you very much, Clifton. That is absolutely true. I don't, this is not a poem I can share with young audiences. So I'm hoping everyone's of age, but anyway. This next one is that it's not an apology. It's just it's just a command to say something out loud. It's written by a wonderful Latinx poet, Ada Limon. It's called The Conditional. And as I understand it, part of her biography was the not able to carry a child, not having a beloved. And I think that underscores the poem. Say tomorrow. So she's speaking, the poet which is not always the same as the speaker in a poem, but it's a command. You know, what if it's just us? Say tomorrow doesn't come. Say the moon becomes an icy pit. Say the sweet gum tree is petrified. Say the sun's a foul black tire. Say the owl's eyes are pinpricks. Say the raccoon's a hot tar stain. Say the shirt's plastic ditch litter. Say the kitchen's a cow's corpse. Oh, listen to those yummy consonants in the mouth. Say we never get to see it. Bright, future, stuck like a bum star, never coming close, never dazzling. Say we never meet her, never him. Say we spend our last moments staring at each other, hands knotted together, clutching the dog, watching the sky burn. Say it doesn't matter. Say that would be enough. Say you'd still want this, us, alive, right here, feeling lucky. Oh my God, I just got so sad. I mean, so beautiful. Just say we're enough. It's so gorgeous. Commanding someone you love to just say something you need to hear. What a gorgeous example of anaphora. Don't think you're just going to sit there. You're going to have to do this, you know. Everyone's going to write one right now. I would like to give you another invitation for guided practice. It is 2:14. I think we have until 3 together. So I don't want you to leave me for too long. So you have to be, maybe Danielle, I'm thinking 15 minutes and a check-in, maybe 20. But I would like everyone to have one of these options in front of them on paper and let's try for 15 minutes to write without stopping, without judgment, 15 minutes, because then we'll let judgment back in. No editing, no revising, no crossouts. Just pick one of these invitations to start with. I remember, because, thank you, take care, I want, can you call me back later? I object, I have a dream. What I like or don't like about is Georgia, Ukraine, Adalimon say. Is it okay, Danielle, to invite people to do a little bit of writing together?
Absolutely. Yes. This is your workshop. So yes. And I love that. So.
Oh, great. Well, it is 2:15. I'm going to write with you. I don't know what I'm going to write. It might be horrible. I don't care. My goal is to grab some paper or my computer, but I'm on the computer with you. So I'm going to just do it by hand. Try to pick one and write as much as you can without stopping. If you get tired of it, pick another. And you don't have to share, but I would be delighted if at the end we had some opportunity. So I'll just say it's 2:15. Feel free to black out or stay present on Zoom with your camera, but at 2:30 we'll come back together. Okay? All right. If you haven't tried more than one, I invite you to try another. It's 2:22. Maybe you're still going. Please keep going. If you want to take revision mind, it might be time to, so we have plenty of time for sharing, might be time to think about looking at your piece. Those are just some invitations. I'm going to keep going. coming up on 2 minutes to go. So another opportunity to look back at your lines, choose some favorites, maybe think about the order. 2 more minutes till we come back together. Unmute. This is a gentle bell ringing. If I were there, ding, ding, ding. To say, look over your palm. This is a new drafty draft. No requirements, but I would like very, very much if the very brave and beautiful Danielle, Meryl, Carrie, Katie, Gray, April, maybe Clifton. Maybe.
Hold on a second. Hold on a second.
I think the real Clifton has disappeared. You just have me because I don't see him. So yeah.
Maybe Ainsley, who I see has joined us in the Zoom area. Or
Hey, I'm ready. I'm ready if you want. I'm ready if you want me to.
Yay! I would like very much for us all to share. And if you don't want to share the whole thing, you could share a line. You could share a very brief, this is what I wrote about, but I'm not comfortable about sharing, but it would be a great pleasure. And we'll just do it pop-up style. And Danielle, you can call on people in the real room if we don't have brave people coming forward. I think that was Ainsley's voice. Was that right?
Yep, that's me.
Okay, would you start us off? It would be so wonderful to hear what you wrote.
Okay, I'm just gonna read the whole thing if that's okay.
Please.
Okay. I want to feel smart. I want to feel loved. I want you to tell me I'm smart. I want you to tell me you love me. Even better, I want you to show me you love me. I want to do things with you. I want to sit on the porch and rock with you. I want to sit on the beach and feel the cool, salty breeze on my face. Or go on a hike or a road trip with you. Because it's you. I want you to know how much I love you. I want you to know I think you're smart and pretty and wonderful. I want you to tell me that I'm smart and pretty and wonderful too. Because I want to think I am, but I don't know for sure.
Oh, what's the title of this new piece? Do you have one?
No,
Oh.
I really.
I think
No,
that
really
just marvelous. It's so beautiful to the beloved.
it's just oh, it's just me journeying, just me writing about the first thing that came to my mind, which is which I guess is either a love poem or a representation of my need for validation. But it could work, but I think this could work either way. For validate.
Thank you so much for sharing. And it's as specific as it is, it has the universal quality that I think we all want those things from the people that we love and that we hope love us and can, that kind of validation that comes from being surrounded by beloveds. That was beautiful. Thank you. Thank you so much. And Carrie did ask if she could share it in the same file where we were before. And I have also added another invitation for later, but I encourage you, here I am in that document. And if you do want to type it up and share it that way, new anaphora poems here, and I will put it in there, but I just love hearing them. Okay. Excellent. So she's on it. She'll put it up there. Or but is there who is next? I won't even give you an option to not be next.
Katie would like to go. Katie, do you want to come up here so they can see you?
Can everyone hear me?
Yes, I can.
Okay. It says, I remember you. I remember the summers we spent on a bus in unfamiliar cities. I remember the evenings at church. I remember watching from a distance. I remember wishing we were closer. I remember your smile. I remember your random, wonderful stories. I remember your sense of humor. I remember your spirit. I remember misplaced anger. I remember sitting and wondering what you had that I didn't. I remember you as Magnolia. I remember regret. I remember wanting to call. I remember feeling connected. I remember remembering. I remember my mom's call. I remember shock, followed by nothing, followed by gut-wrenching sadness. I remember waiting. I remember crying. I remember black. I remember guilt. I remember the pale pink flowers filling the room. I remember the wood was lighter than I thought it would be. I remember it's not fair. I remember it doesn't make sense. I remember you.
Oh my gosh. Katie, could I hear the line after could you read again the pink flowers and then the line after that, maybe like 3 lines around that? There was pink flowers and then there was something else that struck me and I wanted to hear it again. Could you do that?
It says, I remember the pale pink flowers filling the room. I remember the wood was lighter than I thought it would be.
The wood was lighter than I thought it would be. That is a brilliant in so many ways. It's so quirky and weird and specific and what the mind so somehow that beautiful list got you to those pink flowers and the wood that was lighter. I don't know, it was so human. It was a perfect image filled moment in that gorgeous ode, really. It's an ode to memory. Very beautiful. I agree. Thank you so much for sharing.
Thank you.
Wow.
I'll go.
Oh, good.
Okay, great.
It's April.
Yes. Hi. Okay. I object. Innocence is not parallel to guilt. I can lose my naivety. Can you help me? Naivety.
There you go.
Okay. I can lose my naivety and remain with a blush in my cheeks and a sparkle in my eye. I object. That first night I laid down my guns was not the night that made me feel like a woman, skirt hugging my thighs and legs shaven smooth. I object. My words can be loud, rumbling through the mountains, splitting trees and waking neighbors. I object. My pink stained lips do not need to tell stories of softness. I can be raw.
Oh, what a fabulous feminist
Wow. Just
manifesto.
wow.
Yes.
That's it.
Oh, I just love it. And I love the legal tone of I object with the trees. That was a gorgeous, weird moment in nature. The echoes, I just love it.
Thank you.
Really, really nice. Who is next? We've got people in the Zoom room. We've got Carrie. You ready to read yours out loud?
Maybe. Is she able to?
Can we hear it in your voice, Carrie? Or do you prefer someone else to read it? Oh, I'm not following the chat, so I don't know if she's writing. Maybe I shouldn't have put her on the spot just yet. Maybe she just wants to share a line. I'll take it away.
I'll read mine.
Thank you, Meryl.
But it's kind of bad because everybody's been so serious, and this is kind of silly. but just before
That doesn't matter.
I'm sorry.
That doesn't matter.
I just before you put this list of things up, my daughter called me on my phone, and I clicked that little thing that said, "Can you call me back later?" so I used that one. Can you call me back later? Zoom has consumed my room. The conference I'm attending is somewhere, but not over there a few miles. It is here, and I can see and I can hear, yet I'm sitting in my chair all the while. I hope you'll somehow understand that I can't talk at your command. But if to me you can cater, just call me back later.
I love it. So good.
Oh, I love the rhyme. If you can cater, you can call me back. There's so much wit. Thank you so much.
Do you want to go, Gray?
Sure.
Okay.
All right. Oh, thank you.
Okay. Georgia, I have lived in you all my life. Georgia, you have never been a home. Georgia, I pick sweet syrupy dreams off your trees and leave them rotting on your grass. Georgia, I have lived in all your towns and driven through the rest. Georgia, what can I say about you to foreigners to make them forage from your mountains to the forests? Georgia, will you keep me till I'm old like my elders? Will I grow ill, and will you still want me? Will you still want me then? Georgia, please haunt me when I hold out for something else. Georgia, please send me letters so I know you're here. Georgia, you have never been comforting. Georgia, I don't know if I can sleep somewhere comforting.
I love
Oh, state anthem. Oh my goodness, that was fantastic.
I also did Georgia. So like, but it's totally different. It's totally different. Okay, so yours was really good though. So here's my ode to Georgia. Georgia, I loved you as a child, the land of old glass Dr. Pepper bottles, of tree frogs at Daddy Paws, of fireworks in the wood, of mountains and kudzus. Georgia, I hated you too when I was forced to be with you, away from my friends, my family, my soulmate. Georgia, then you gave me hope with a capital H that let me be who I am today, a second chance to truly be me. Georgia, I inhale the beauty of you, the springtime pop of dogwoods and jumping Johnnies, the fall bouquet of the mountains, the cool of the water on a summer day. Georgia, you don't belong to me. You claim words like Chattahoochee, Etowah, Okefenokee, but they are not your words. Georgia, your clay is red with blood from lynchings and genocide. Georgia, that is not even your name. I do not know what it is. Who are you? Georgia, why did Ahmaud have to die? Georgia, you are my life, my heart, my soul. Georgia, you are a sweet peach, but oh, you are also a mushed apple left to rot under a tree, forgotten after the good fruit has been taken away. Oh, Georgia, you stay forever on my mind.
Oh,
so we went in like very different directions with that same, like, yeah.
Wow. Okay. That should go to the newspaper. Like, whoa.
Thank Thank you.
That is amazing. Oh my gosh. Okay, well, you can see who is left in your room, and I know I've got Carrie, and Carrie is
Carrie
inviting
says she
anyone.
cannot unmute herself. So I think everyone's gone but Carrie. Do you want to read Carrie's, Misha?
Sure. Actually, yeah, sure. Yes. Let me I'm gonna just share my screen so you can see this poem.
Thank you, Ainsley.
I missed her chat. Was there?
She just said she was speechless. It was very kind.
Oh, yes, it was. These are awesome. We should put a book together. Okay, here we go.
I love that.
Carrie's Free Rights, great title, by the way. Can you call me back later? I don't want to talk. Can you call me back later? I have nothing to say. Can you call me back later? It's never a good time. Can you call me back later? I'm deciding. Can you call me back later? I answered accidentally. Can you call me back later? It'll give me a chance to not answer. Can you call me back later? There's too much to think about. Can you call me back later? My family needs me now. Can you call me back later? My dog's barking. Can you call me back later? My phone's about to die. Can you call me back later? I was in the middle of something important. Can you call me back later? I don't have an answer. Can you call me back later? I really just don't want to talk. Can you call me back later? You aren't who I need to talk to at the moment. Can you call me back later? I've got to go. Woo! Yes. Wow. This person is not getting the message. Goodbye. Well, there's so many. I'll share one I wrote. I don't know if I can, how to do that. Let me see if I stop sharing this. I'm not there for a couple of reasons, but one is that I had an emergency trip to go home because my mother is very, very, very ill. So this was a very important time for me to write this poem after the diagnosis, a draft. Can you call me back later? I'm feeding the kids. Can you call me back later? I'm at a soccer game. Can you call me back later on the other lines of work call? Can you call me back later when it's not so late, when it's not too early, when we've eaten, when we've got more time? Can you call me back later? I'm not in the mood. I'm not listening. You're not. We're always going over the same old story. Can you call me back later when we've made a plan? Can you call me back later for the Christmas list, the dinner arrangements, the directions, when you've cleared your throat, on Black Friday, when you've slept a little, when I'm not running so late? Call me back tomorrow, next week, the day after my 60th birthday, your birthday, George Washington's birthday, when the Cubs win, when the game's over, when we can pretend I'm still upstairs brooding in my room or out the window on the tar roof, not doing what you want me to do, not answering the phone like I'm doing now, because this time I don't know how much time you have to please call me back. Yeah, sometimes. Thank you so much for this opportunity. Oh man, you guys are the best. Okay. We're gonna get through this thing called life. We're gonna get through it. I have another. Thank you so much. I wanted to just show the list again so that you can write some of these down if you didn't have them in your pocket, in your journal. They're all invitations to say the same thing over, but to say it differently. I drew the attention, I don't remember whose poem, maybe it was Ainsley who wanted someone to be with them on the porch or with the sand and the salt of the beach. Yeah. And the pink flowers and the wood, like things are in the specifics. It's in the music of can you call me back later if you can cater, the music of our poems, the specifics of the image. So I would say keep these little nuggets of wisdom and beauty, the naming of Armad in the poem, the playing with Georgia on my mind, Danielle, that was very skillful. So it's like the revising hat goes back to those early instincts and thinks, how can I make more specific? Because even though our temptation sometimes is to be universal, it's in the, there's a famous dictum in poetry that God is in the details. It's a famous quote from the architect Mies van der Rohe, who was very well known for the details of its architecture, physical architecture and building structures. And the same is true with poetry. The more we have the specifics, the more we can expand the potential universal qualities of our poems. So I remember, because thank you, please take care. I want, can you call me back later? I object. I have a dream. What I like about, or what I don't like about pizza is, whatever the noun is. And then those addresses to places that are important to us, whole states or nations, down to a very specific town or county or school or a locale of historic importance. So keep up that writing. We have very little time left, but I thought I would give you one little nugget. But before I leave you with another poem, I wanted to just open it up for conversation. Let me stop my screen sharing. Your thoughts, any questions you might have. I see that we have about 11 minutes, so I want to send you off with a little goodie, but also to hear from you about how you're doing or any questions you might have or comments so far.
I would just like to say I have enjoyed this session much, and I appreciate it. It's been fun and it's been helpful.
Oh, I'm delighted. Oh, great.
I'd like to say that I had fun with this session too. Of course. And I'm sorry that I was running a little late, and I enjoyed reading and sharing poems together.
Me too.
I would third that. It's been lovely. It's been really amazing. And so I'm so glad that I finally got to attend one of your sessions.
Oh, I'm so glad too. Really glad. Well, I don't want to leave you empty-handed, so I'm going to give you another little gift. This is one of my favorite poems and poets to share. Let me see if I can go back to sharing my screen. I really hope we all meet someday, somewhere in this crazy state, this beautiful, crazy Georgia that we live in. And I mean it about publishing. It's very important too to think about, leveling up and sharing our poems with one another. And one of the most important poets, former poet laureate Naomi Shihab Nye, she's so accessible and such a beautiful human. And this is one of my favorite poems of hers. And I love the way so we've been repeating mostly in anaphora is the beginning of a line or sentence or phrase, what things start, but she has the repetition embedded as this adjective, famous. And I just love it so much. So I thought it would be fun to share with you this poem. And then I will share with you an assignment that I give to my poetry students that maybe I should say an invitation. It's an invitation to you. So first, I'll just read this gorgeous poem. Famous. The river is famous to the fish. The loud voice is famous to silence, which knew it would inherit the earth before anybody said so. The cat sleeping on the fence is famous to the birds watching him from the birdhouse. The tear is famous, briefly, to the cheek. The idea you carry close to your bosom is famous to your bosom. The boot is famous to the earth, more famous than the dress shoe, which is famous only to floors. The bent photograph is famous to the one who carries it, and not at all famous to the one who is pictured. I want to be famous to shuffling men who smile when crossing streets, sticky children in grocery lines, famous as the one who smiled back. I want to be famous in the way a pulley is famous, or a buttonhole, not because it did anything spectacular, but because it never forgot what it could do. Yum, 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 yum. Just gorgeous. Isn't that a fantastic poem? It's so unusual. God, I want to be famous. And she is such a humble poet. You do not get to be famous as a poet, ever. Almost no one gets to be famous. But to be famous in this way that is just in service is just such a lovely thing. So I think of the broad idea of this assignment is just to come up with another adjective. Jealous. I don't know. You tell me, what are some other adjectives we could do? Spectacular. Any adjective could be famous. Did I hear one?
Beautiful.
Beautiful.
Colorful.
What is another one?
Colorful.
Yes. I want to be colorful like an adjective like that. So I'm going to share with you the whole assignment that I give to students. Let me escape here, is back on that document we were sharing before. I didn't want to give it to you earlier because I didn't want to distract us, but it is under Carrie's fine poem. So now I'm going to go back to that document. And you can easily find this poem is quite famous now. She was the poet laureate, and there's a wonderful online resource for you that you may already know about called Poetry Foundation. So at poetryfoundation.org, you can find so many, 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 many wonderful poems. You could spend your whole life reading the goods on that page. And this poem, among many of her poems, is there. And so I ask those that work with me at UGA to read this poem. It's a free verse poem that uses the repetition of an adjective internally. Come up with a new adjective that you can repeat in your own imitation. Like the January pecan tree is jealous of the camellia, frothy with leaf and bloom. And I'm not sure, but maybe Gray was, or was it April, who talked about the sticky things falling. I was wondering if those were figs, that were left on the ground. Anyways,
She says yes.
Yes. Okay. I was like, that figs. I know those figs, those stinky, I love them. And I hate when they fall. Jealous, distrustful, resentful, bossy, awkward, careless, dazzling, punctual, responsible, loyal, popular, beloved. These are just some ideas. And I just ask that you play, what could be popular to what in the way that famous, or what could be loyal, who's loyal to whom? Is the front porch fence loyal to the grass in front of it, to the daffodils, disloyal? So I give silly rubrics to my students. I say, follow this poem as if it were a true imitation, just like Naomi have 9 stanzas and 9 uses of the adjective. I ask new writers to be careful to select varied nouns. So those that are both human and non-human. The fence is popular to the camellias, but not at all to the automobile parked in the gravel driveway. 2 uses of your adjective in first person, just like she says, I want to be famous. So I want to be loyal. I want to be jealous, whatever your adjective is. To use diction word power, that is strong nouns and strong verbs. I always look for careful punctuation. I know that the poet E.E. Cummings has had a lot of influence on American writers. So a lot of people don't like to use periods and commas, but I'm always a stickler for good punctuation, even in a poem. Her poem has each stanza as a complete sentence, which I think is an interesting model. And that the poem conveys atmosphere and a mood. I have a limitation that no stanza be more than 4 lines. 2 stanzas can be no more than 1 line. Basically, I'm taking her poem and imitating it. Oh, goody. Our anonymous armadillo is copying this. I love it. And title your poem with that specific adjective. And then I have these manuscript guidelines. Whenever I have new students working with me, I always say to put your name in the top right, center your title, and adjust the poem on the left unless it moves around the page. This is just how poems look when they're sent professionally for literary journals for publication. So I think it's good to get in the habit of formatting in that way. And when I'm working with students, I always reserve 3 points for what I call kapow. When I hear like lines like that, remember seeing the wood is lighter, or the pink flower, I just go, oh God, kapow. And I think that's just the 3 point, something that moves me that I can't stop thinking about it. I just always offer that subjective space. And I tell my students, this is all subjective. It's just working towards our own best, most clear, most beautiful thinking. So I offer this for you. I think Danielle will probably still have this document, and you're welcome to keep sharing it. If you lose track of this, I'm happy to share it with you again. And it's just a way to continue writing. I see that it is.
We are at the reaching hour here. Yes.
Oh my goodness. So I will just say thank you. I understand somebody said that you each may be getting a book maybe today. I don't know.
There are some books back in the student center, so please feel free to take them home with you. Yes.
Oh, I'm delighted. I'm delighted. And I'm right next door, you guys. So don't be strangers.
Thank you so much for this. This was just wonderful. I think this was a great session. So we really appreciate you. And I hope, everything works out with your personal struggles, and I hope they're okay. So.
Oh yeah. Thank you so much. Applause to all of you.
Thank you. All right. We are going to, there are snacks and stuff back in the student center. And then I think there's one final published panel, and I think that's back in the student center. So, all right. Thank you again, Misha. And I will be in contact because I do want to work together more. I love you. You're great. So,
oh, likewise, likewise.
All right. Bye.
Bye. Bye, everybody. Stay in touch. You are so welcome. I'm right here in Athens, so find me. Bye, guys.
Bye.